Button means go.
It means go. Step on the gas.
If those of you on Zoom, could someone give me a thumbs up that you can hear the meeting, please? Or shoot me a yes in the chat. Yes, okay, we're good.
We got sound.
Okay, so we are going to convene our meeting at 5:35. We're going to start with our work session. So, do we have to take a roll call? Yep. So, we take roll call.
We don't need to take.
We don't need to.
I've got it noted for the minutes in the record.
Okay,
Mhm.
so we're just going to go. Okay, so we don't need to take roll call. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start with a position analysis by Bob Kiefer from the SDAO consult, who's an SDAO consultant. So Bob.
Get to my mic and be more official in a moment.
Yeah.
Well, good evening. I'm Bob Kiefer. I'm a senior consultant with Special District Association of Oregon. And I've had, I was here a couple months ago and we did a little board training and I've been involved a little bit with matters over since I started being a consultant on a part-time basis for SDO over 9 years ago. So, and my background is in Parks and Recreation Management. And so I have a real keen eye toward what's going on here and wherever else where parks are. And just for the record, I also serve on the board for the Sisters Park and Recreation District. So I've learned a lot by being on the board. It's different than being where Courtney is. So I hopefully what I share with you, you know, I'm coming from a lot of different perspectives.
Do we note the time? We note the
For the record, Janelle's here at 5:37 p.m.
No. The district hired Special District Association of Oregon to do this position analysis. And as a reminder, it's a multi-step process. Tonight is really a high level. What did I just, from the information that I received about the job description, the employment agreement for the executive director and the wage study that was done last February by HR Answers, what's my impression? What do I see that might just high level might be concerned about or things that you might want to consider? Based on tonight's discussion, we'll determine where I next go and how much more detailed we go with the report. So just keep that in mind. And one of the reasons why you're only getting the memo now is because of it's high level and there's not a lot of specifics in there. With that said, there's still some important points that I want to share with you. I also understand right now has been a lot of stuff up in the air with the financing of the district, with other things that are going on. And so probably it's really, really important that you're really clear on what you expect out of your executive director and vice versa. So I think it's good timing for what we're doing in that manner. Also, just reminder, this is sort of a limited in scope to those three areas. This isn't about a performance of your executive director. It's not about anything else that's going on in the district. It's about these three things. That's what you asked SDAO and for me to do. So with that, I want to just very quickly hit some high points with the job description, the employment agreement, and the wage study. The one that's going to take the most and where I need the most feedback is dealing with the job description. And I'll get to that in a half a moment. First of all, my quick review, more than a quick, I went through it several times, looked at it, compared it to what I've seen with other executive directors and park districts throughout the state that I've either helped hire new executive directors or reviewed their information for my own benefit and also my own contract from 10 years ago. I see the structure is pretty much the same as I would see in most other executive directors, with the way it's formatted, the way it covers all the bases from compensation through termination. All those pieces are very, very similar in nature. Yes, all of them have a little bit quirks depending on where they're coming from, what's happened in that community before, what all those type of things. But from a standpoint of what's there from the complexity of what a director does and the skill set required and all those pieces, it's pretty common. What I think the challenge for the district, and where I need to have some more discussion after we end this part, or when I get done speaking, is come back and I want you to be thinking about what's the future. Do you want your executive director to continue to be this jack of all trades that she is right now, with having to cover so many different bases, or be more focused as an executive director on the leadership of the organization, strategic planning? How do we build stronger relationships in the community? What do we do to better serve our community? How do we figure out what the long-term funding strategy is now that these other two measures have failed? How do we do all that? So, because you can't always be doing all these other things that she's doing and also be focused on some of those things. However, you have financial realities, you have political realities, you have all sorts of things that sort of balance that out. And I understand that. And I tried to express that in the memo. You know, you do have a mission and vision that you have approved as a board, and that should be driving where your executive director and your leadership is trying to go to for you, as far as, you know, really looking at what's I'll just read them to you. To the mission statement: to promote long-term community vitality and support healthy lifestyles for the individuals, families, and communities we serve. And the vision statement, which I mentioned last time, is very good: advance the good life in our vibrant and healthy communities. My point here is, most of the time, the executive director is that person that's assuring that we're moving in that direction. And again, with all that said, I think that there's also the realities that you have to deal with. And everybody has to deal with these in small districts, big districts, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of influences that impact where you go. So the challenge here is, where do we want our executive director, your executive director, to focus her time as we move forward? Now, when I look at the job description, we'll come back again to this, is that we can look at what changes would I make in the one that, what recommendations would I make on the one that's present? What would recommendations would I make if we wanted to maintain the status quo and the wide level of responsibilities? And I could probably do both. I could give you suggestions, recommendations for both levels. For instance, if you were to retain sort of this level of responsibility that Courtney has now, it may be that if you put in the job description, within 6 months of hire, be able to be a certified pool operator or lifeguard, because maybe you're not going to find those just standard for most executive directors when you're looking across the state at who's running park and recreation districts and these type of facilities. So just sort of keep all that in mind. We'll come back to that if it's all right, so I can stay on a flow here with the rest of this. The executive director employment agreement, like the job description, very common the way that it was presented. I would say, if I cut to the chase at the very bottom of this section, is that it seems to be pretty long and convoluted in places, and you could tell that there was a lot of work with your attorney to do that. I would recommend, at the end of the day, that with your new legal counsel, that you have them review it and see if there's a way to make it a little more easy to read and follow where each section goes. In between that, in your memo, I talk about some things that I did not find that is sort of normal. And that number one is that your executive director with agreement with the board and her agreed not to accept health insurance and or retirement benefits. That is a true cost savings to the district. Just that isn't something that I've normally seen in any of the recruitments that I've done or in the other agreements that I have seen. The cost of living adjustment is also one of those areas where your contract with the executive director, it's a one-time payment once a year, whatever the other staff get, but it doesn't adjust her salary schedule. Many times cost of living increase the salary schedule. So it continues to grow that. Yours, it lays that flat. And then that's up to you to negotiate with your executive director any other additional raise or changes in that salary schedule. But the contract specifically says it's a one-time payment. And then also in the agreement, there are various scenarios for termination without cause, if there's a severance or not a severance. Again, that's pretty common. I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that. I've seen that a lot in the contracts that I've been involved with and watched over and helped develop. So that is just something that's really in these situations. A lot of that deals with when boards change, when the executive director has another opportunity to go, there's good clarity on what happens at that point. So just to keep that in mind. The last section, and one that I know that a lot of folks were interested in, is what was my impression of the wage study that was done by HR Answers. The information is really fine. There's just not a lot of it. And first of all, you had two reports, and you guys all of you probably remember this. So you had two reports there, and one seemed to be a lot more focused like a department head for a city or a county. It wasn't focused on somebody that was leading an organization that had to report to a board and had a lot more administrative responsibilities from that type of leadership standpoint. So that, I think that the second one that came in was more representative of your executive director position. I don't even have the numbers in front of me right now, but from a standpoint, if you're going to measure this, you need to measure what the same type of position. Somebody that is leading the organizations from the very top, that's reporting to a board or elected officials, or a nonprofit board of directors, if you're going to use that. So I think this lack of clarity about who did they utilize, where did all that come from? I know one of them had at least 27 inputs, but where did those come from? I think that maybe we could look at that, and it's within the context of this contract with SDO, that we could do a basic look at this wage study and do it again, more focused upon like organizations. And, you're never going to find one that's just exactly like the one that you're at. But hopefully you can get different types of apples or different types of fruit at least, and try to work through that by looking at, what are their budgets? What are their service area? What type of facilities do they have? These type of things. Are they a district? I would hope that we could find districts, because that's the same type of governance that you're under here. And so at this point, I would think that that would be one of the areas that over this next month we'd want to do. I've done some of that in the recruitments that I've done. When I did the Crook County Park and Recreation District Executive Director, we went out and looked at some other agencies that were very similar in size and scope, and utilize that information to help set a pay range for that executive director. And I think it can be a simple process. If you want to really deep dive into it, you would need to hire an HR professional, not a retired Parks and Recreation guy. But I can give you the pragmatic stuff. I think I know people to find out more information about them, including what other compensation do those executive directors get, and what is the general cost of doing that, so that you can have that as, you know, when you're looking at compensation, what's that like? So there's some work there to do that I think that if you give the go ahead, you know, I would be happy to at least bring that back as representation of what I believe would be agencies that have some close resemblance to the Madras Aquatic Center. So with that, want to go back to the job description, hear from you guys with what I had to say about how would you like to see the job description looked at? Do you want to look at it as how we're operating today, or what's your preferred option? Like to know on the there's not much on the employment agreement other than I'm making a recommendation to you at this point that your new legal counsel look at that. And then the third piece is, would you like me to proceed with a revised wage study? There we go.
So, since I have to unfortunately leave, that's also first, I would like, the study, the information, to lean heavily on the financial situation we have for the next year. That's the reality that we're all very much tied to. And, you know, we could recommend hiring 6 other people to help out. But we don't need to hire 6 other people to help out. So, while I would like to see her off of the debt and out of the mechanic room, that may not be possible until we go out for the next operating. It's what, 2 years?
27.
And after that time, when that happens, have that considered, then we get the new levy, then the first person we have to hire is a debt man or a pool, certified pool.
Operator.
Sorry, that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
No, I'm the deaf one.
you.
No, I was recommending that we do the next level with our financial situation heavily in mind. That's something we can't change unless we have some donors, but whatever. So that's where I was, and appreciate what you're doing for us so far. And that's my input.
Great.
And I do apologize, but I have to take. But
Fun.
oh yeah, I will review the YouTube meeting after we get done, and so I will be up to speed for the next one.
There we go.
For the record, Frank is leaving at 5:53 PM.
Perfect. So I guess I'll jump into it. I agree with what Frank said. I wish we had to where Courtney didn't do everything, you know, as the lifeguard, as the manager. I would like to see her more out in the community, engaging and showing off the pool and getting people to come into the pool. That's what I would like her to do. Run the pool just as a executive director and delegate. But like Frank said, we don't have the money for that. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. So, but yeah.
Well, I got to attend that lifeguard training, so hopefully we get a few more lifeguards trained in so she's not out in that lifeguard chair. But I do believe her job description does need to reflect that potentially that's what's needed by the district at this time, but I'm hopeful that there'll be less of that.
Me too.
going forward.
Like I said, I'd like her, in a perfect world,
Sure.
I'd like her to concentrate on overseeing,
Mhm.
overseeing managers that oversee their section, their little slice of the pie. Yes, sir. How's that? I'll bring it a little closer.
And I'm not, you were mentioning about the chemical room. I think that's a good trait for our executive director to have, even if there was a pool manager, that at least there's another set of eyes and a backup person when the the pool manager wouldn't be there. And in our perfect world, we're going to have a pool manager someday, whatever that job title is exactly.
Facilities.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in the short term now, what we're dealing with now, I think her job description needs to reflect exactly what's going on day to day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that wage study floats to the top for me as for importance to either validate it or bring us some new information. Yeah.
Gene, I didn't quite hear all of that. I'm sorry.
Gosh, and I thought I was in there.
There we go. You said, understanding the pool operating system, because we always need a backup. That's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
And then and then you said something that I just didn't quite catch. I'm after that.
Just that the job description needs to reflect everything that this person's doing on a day-to-day basis at this time, because that's where we're at. And that's what we're going to be dealing with for the next 2 years, for sure.
Okay. That's what I thought you said, but
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I heard it.
She said that the wage evaluation.
Oh,
of
that-
wage scale was the most important thing for her.
For me.
Either validate it.
Okay.
Or figure out if there's something else we need to be considering.
Okay.
That was the end piece of what Jean said.
Okay.
And then, well, I would just, I agree that there's two, it's, oh, that's supposedly.
Oh, there we go.
It was already green. Weird. Okay. I agree that right now with the job duties that are being performed, there's no way that we wouldn't be looking for someone to do all of those same things at this point. And I think it is important to have the checks and balances and have the executive director know the operations, including the facilities, even if in the future there is someone in that role, because that's part of what, like, the lack of knowledge of what was going on in a facilities room is what led to some of the wear and tear of things going out sooner back in the past when the pool was first opened. So, and there wasn't a lot of oversight. And so I think that is critical for that role, and that should be built in there for that piece. And then the office manager role and knowing accounting numbers, being able to know that role, even if there was an office manager, is also critical
Yeah.
for budget oversight. So there isn't any way that any of these jobs that she's doing, you don't need to have that skill set. And we have not had that before in an executive director. With some of the folks that have taken that role on in the past and not had the background to do so with all the knowledge or training that they needed.
Was that the position title office manager that did the books and the payroll
Correct.
prior
Mhm.
to? Yeah, that's
Yes.
just something the district can't afford at this time, though, to have
Right.
a separate body in that position, unfortunately.
Right.
And like we said, of course, she needs to kind of know everything. That's what the captain of the ship does. So to step in, and if somebody's gone, even though I don't like it, I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. But like I said, she wears a lot of hats. So I want to kind of maybe limit the hats, but
Well, with the
It is what
lifeguarding
it is.
piece, I think
Yeah.
understanding that and maybe being lifeguard certified makes sense.
yeah.
In emergency to keep the pool
Oh,
open if you had to step out there, but she's just having to cover that role too often, and that also shouldn't happen.
Is that partly, and maybe Courtney, you can answer this more succinctly, is that not only due to just a budget thing, but also just the availability of lifeguards and trained folks? Is that part of your issue, that the talent pool that's out there?
I think the challenge is that now that we just had a class of 7 get through the fully lifeguard certified class, me included, I was just shallow certified. Now I'm fully certified. It only took me 4 years to get to the bottom of the deep pool. But I think that in the mornings is when I find myself on deck most often, because we don't have enough adults that aren't in school to be, and adults are looking for full-time benefited work. And that's not something that we can afford right now. So I find myself in the lifeguard chair more often in the rotation in the mornings. And then in the afternoons after school, it's not as often. So that's when I'm getting my work done in my office, or covering the front desk, is when we've got all of the seasonals that are available. So now that we have these 6 new seasonals, hopefully the goal is I'm not on deck in the evenings anymore or on the weekends, which I have been filling in that role quite a bit. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Okay. As far as, Gene, you mentioned about the wage study. I didn't hear from the other two of you. You want me to proceed down that road, or do you just want to stay where the current one was at?
Oh, for the wage study?
Wage, yeah.
Well, I think we should go down that road to see what it is for a wage study.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of, there's enough time in my contract to do some survey work with half a dozen or more folks that I'm aware of that are very similar. I don't know if I could say very similar, but similar in nature as far as running a district. I think the library, you have a library district here, an executive director there, very similar budget, same size of area, those type of things. One different one. The one question I would have, how important do you think it is, although they're not running an agency like Courtney is, but department heads or county department heads, for the city department heads or county department heads, knowing those wages, is that anything that's of much value to you, or do you want me to focus mostly in the special district arena?
I think special
My opinion
districts.
is special districts, yes, and finding those
Yeah.
parks and recs, maybe they've got an outdoor pool versus we've got an indoor pool, but
Right.
that would be more like than the city administrator who has all these different department heads working underneath them,
Right. Right.
Yep.
And like you mentioned, the library district, that's one person with a smaller staff, a special district.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that helps me. I just didn't, I mean, I just noticed when I was doing some research that even last February, when this one came out, the newspaper did a study of the city and county department heads and administrators, and all that information was shared with the public in that. So there was the ranges for those positions, all that. But I didn't know if it was important for you as a board. I was focusing on because I have connections with folks in the Parks and Recreation and in special districts that are doing either similar size budgets, staffing, those type of things.
Well, that's where we want to compare.
Yeah.
I mean, at least get fruits in there, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you were saying,
Right.
whether it's
Don't compare to hospital executives,
yeah.
please.
No,
we want a Honey Crisp and a Gala apple
yeah.
in there,
Yeah.
make them close,
Not just a Red Delicious.
right?
We're not going to find the same Red Delicious anywhere. Okay. Well, with that, I think my marching orders is to relook at this job description from today's perspective, what we're doing today, what I would recommend for the boundaries of that, as far as the skill sets and what we may require of them from a certification standpoint. As I mentioned in my introduction, it may be that for a job description, maybe it's you have to be able to obtain those things with it.
I agree, yes.
Because when I look out at Parks and Recreation field and look at year-round pools and those type of things, you don't find too many executive directors that are
Yeah.
certified pool operators. Doesn't mean they don't understand pool operation.
Right.
Yeah.
Or at
Right.
one point, when they were 20 years younger, were a pool operator, or a lifeguard, or, those type of things. So they understand that, and they've done budgets, and they've done financial statements and all those
Mhm.
type of things. But sometimes those high-level certified specialty things that you need in a pool, are different. And you don't normally get that in an executive director just carrying those with them all the time. So I think things like that I would be looking at. So those recommendations, I'll take a look at that. I've given you some suggestions about the employment agreement, and with Courtney's contract being up in June, that should probably happen anyway, with or without renewing a contract. I think you should have it reviewed by your current legal counsel. And
On that note, though, Courtney, did we ever get an official legal counsel? Because we were talking to the guy from this that's representing the city.
Yes, so the board approved engagement with local government law group. So
Oh,
we do
yeah.
have counsel.
I just didn't remember if that
And
got
then I'll
closed.
come back on June 26th or January 26th with what I can do on those two items, and the wage study and the job description, give you recommendations. And from that point, you can decide what's next if you need any further assistance from me. One of the last questions in the project was, should we renew the contract or go out? And that will be after all this discussion. If you're at that point, we can talk about, do we have that discussion in February, or do you want to have that discussion in January?
Mhm.
So we can talk more about that at that point. But with that said, you do need to make a decision fairly soon. Don't think that hiring, if you decide you want to try to hire a new executive director, this isn't about performance for me. This is just about what you've asked, is that's a good 4 to 6 month process to do it right, to recruit nationally, to recruit from throughout the state, to go through a good filtering process, doing a good community-based interview process, doing all these things, and giving somebody time to relocate here if you have to relocate. So there's lots involved in it. It is not 1 month to the next month that you get that done. And I'm sure all of you are aware of that, but my fair warning is that a decision will need to be made sooner than later, or an extension of the contract.
Mhm.
Okay? Anything else? Yes.
So I just have a question, Bob. When you're looking at trying to find like districts, can you look into Idaho, Washington, California for population size, community similar?
I
Are we-
can stay pretty much in Oregon.
Yeah.
The thing is that special districts are not as prevalent in Washington and Idaho. I'm not
Mm,
saying there's none, but they're just not as prevalent. Down in California, it's almost a whole nother ballgame, because you might have a community services district that works as a park and recreation district. There's a lot, and the costs down there seem to be completely
mhm.
much higher than here. And I don't have those contacts, but I certainly can look to see I could look and see what's being recruited down there from a standpoint of population, look at their information, and go online and
Yeah.
find out what's going there, and get you probably a thumbnail.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that would be the best way for me to do that, Gene, is probably, because National Recreation Park Association has a great jobs board, and SDO is a member. And so I can go in there and I can look for people and look for where these jobs are, and
Mhm.
look at parameters. And so, yes, so I can do some of that, but not probably at the level that I could do some of the others.
Yeah.
When I know somebody. Yeah. Okay.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, in the world of property assessment, they would try to compare Jefferson County to Umatilla County
Yeah.
or Hood River County, because population sizes are similar.
Yeah.
But what's unique about our district is we don't encompass the entire population. we're just part of what's the 509J school district.
Right.
So it makes it even tougher for you to find those comparables.
Well, and I think you're gonna be looking, I have to say that I'm gonna try to go 10 to 20,000 population base. With or without a pool, but maybe an expansive recreation side of things,
Mhm.
an
Yeah.
outdoor pool. Budget in the million to 2.5 million basis. And because general fund, not talking about capital, I mean, you can, again, you can go and look at audits and look at all sorts of things, and you can see some budgets that right now, the Sisters Park and Recreation budget looks completely out of whack because we got a big grant to do the new community park behind the old elementary school. And we did a bunch of capital. We did $1.6 million worth of capital. Well, if you put that into the general fund or think about that with all of our budget, that really blows our budget out of line. You know, that's not
Mhm.
our daily operating budget. So I want to try to narrow down to
Yeah.
that size
Yeah.
and not get carried away with the capital side or all these other reserve funds that they may have.
Mhm.
So I want to try to get down to the nuts and bolts as much as I can.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, guys. Good luck with everything. I'll watch the YouTube later.
Okay.
And otherwise I'll get home so I'm not on your clock.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. Have a safe drive home
Thank you.
and have a good Christmas if we don't
too.
talk to you. Okay. So now we're gonna move on and do we have to say the time again? No, we're good. Okay. So we'll move on to number 3, discuss February through June 2026 pool schedule. What does that look like?
All right, board members. So in your packet, you have a cover memo that just talks about the history of our current operating hours. It includes the fall schedule, our current winter schedule, and then based on data, which is at the end of the report, we'll go to that in a second, as well as patron feedback that we've been getting throughout the days that we are open, and then also via email. There's one in your correspondence today, for example. What we're proposing for the spring schedule is essentially the same as the fall schedule. So with one small difference, which is shifting back our opening time on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to 7 a.m. Right now, we're opening at 7:30 p.m. So shifting that back to 7, and then instead of remaining open till 12:30, staying open till 12. We're finding that we might have one patron in the pool after 11:45. And we've got a lot of folks that come in right at 7. Their toe is ready to hit the water at 7:30. And so the idea is let's shift it back a little bit. It makes it more available potentially for folks who have a typical work schedule. And then I think it's just more efficient in terms of the patrons that are using the pool. So again, maintaining essentially the fall schedule of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and being open until 7 p.m. on Wednesday and Friday. It was a slow start with that 4 to 7 p.m. time block on Wednesdays and Fridays, but we've seen it pick up quite a bit, especially that 4 to 5:30 time period. We're seeing a lot of family time users coming in. And then going back to 2 open swims a week, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. During this winter schedule that we're currently in, we're not doing Sunday because we are open on Tuesday instead for swim team to practice. So if I go down to the patron usage, you'll see that we've served, and this is duplicated, so it's not like we know one person came this many times. This is just how many times people have scanned in, paid, or somehow came in to use the pool. Over the 51 days we've been open, it's about 2,581 people. And you can see that with our average weekly usage by hour and activity, that 11:30 to 12:30, it just takes a real dive. And then we pop back up with a lot of activity from that 4 to 5:30 time period. Our largest usage is that first in the morning, 7:30 to 8:30. So we're feeling like if we open half an hour earlier, that might give patrons more time to do their morning workout. The other graph that's in your packet is open swim participation by date and type. And you can see that there's one Wednesday open swim in there. That was a no school day open swim. And we are having those on Fridays during the winter break from 1 to 3. And you can see that it was a slow start, and then we started popping up into the 70s. This has been helpful because we haven't been fully staffed, but our goal is to serve up to 120 to 160 people during open swims. That's what we're staffed for if we have our full staffing available. And so if we only have 70 show up and we're staffed for 160, you can imagine that, we're sending staff home early. They're not getting their hours. It's kind of cyclical. So we're as a team exploring how we can try and market more the open swims if the board is comfortable going forward with going back to that same schedule as fall when we have open swims on Saturday and Sunday. So that's why our team, our what we call the core 5 of our full-time and part-time regular staff are proposing the spring schedule. It's not on your business meeting for approval. If the board is supportive of this schedule, then we can move forward with starting to plan for it. One of our goals is that we have sufficient cash flow to remain open during the summer months. That's one of the reasons that we're keeping an eye, I say more closely than ever, on usage and on revenues. So assuming that Jefferson County continues to provide us with our tax anticipation loan like they have for the last 5+ years, and that we don't have any large unanticipated expenses. Right now, when you look at our business meeting agenda, I think we're at something like $35,000 or $40,000 estimated year-end carry forward. If that happens, then we're able to stay open in the summer with a schedule that staff is thinking looks kind of like this spring schedule, and maybe with a couple of open swims during the week as well.
Was there any feedback on the Saturday and Sunday times, the 3 to 6, about like moving it earlier?
We haven't had any feedback. To my knowledge, no, we haven't had any feedback.
So from the winter schedule, we're eliminating that Thursday 4 to 5:30 going into the spring schedule. What's happens between 4 and 5:30? Is that
Swim
the
team.
swim team?
That's swim team on Thursdays, yeah.
Oh.
So when we did the winter schedule,
Is there family time or anything else going on during that 4 to 5:30?
we have
Thursday?
family time and we've got independent workout, but we only do swim lessons on Wednesdays and Fridays. So Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons are only during the winter schedule when we have swim team.
Okay.
Because then those hours get pushed to Sunday, so we have that open swim.
Okay, I follow it. Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yep. Well, I think pushing it back to 7 o'clock will help with some of our early morning workout people. It's not the 6 or 6:30 they'd like, but that's a start, I guess.
We've had a lot of,
They showed a lot of interest in that.
The earlier mornings, yeah.
I mean, will that bring up the attendance and stuff? I mean, will it bring up more people coming in or just give them more time to work out?
I don't know the answer to that. It could be both.
Like we had one comment in our coming up in the packet, somebody had wrote in that if they go to work at 8 o'clock, which, banker's hours, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, coming in to swim at 7:30 doesn't give them time to swim, shower, and then get to work in the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It almost looks like on this graph, like it really drops off closer to like 11 a.m., maybe 11:30. I can't really tell. In the morning.
11:30.
I mean, I know you're backing up only a half hour, but I also just, as someone who's used the weekend hours, the 3 to 6, and I was just there this weekend. Like, I feel like on the weekends before when we were able to do an hour and a half open swim, or like a 2 hour and have a half hour in between and then a second open swim afterward, it really maximizes on the birthday party availability to get those rentals in. like multiple times, because you can have 2 parties per open swim session, like just like maximizing, but like splitting it up and doing 2 different sessions. I know there's some people that maybe come to both of them, but like, I don't know, kids get pretty worn out even within the 2 hours. And some people do the party like in between in that half-hour closure when the kids are out of the pool, do the presents later, or do them at home or something. It's just a thought, like to try and shift a little bit more of time to that time frame if we're able to. I think we could maximize on those 2 weekend days and have like shift it a little earlier in the day on Saturday and Sunday.
Originally, that hour-and-a-half open swim time period came from COVID and needing to have multiple sessions. We got a lot of feedback that people didn't think it was long enough, so that's why we
I think
extended
2
it.
hours is ideal.
And so I can definitely bring it back to the team and talk through what that would look like and maybe come back with another iteration of this if the board is interested in us looking at shifting some of those weekday hours to increase the number of open hours. That does increase our payroll pretty significantly beyond what we have budgeted. And so we would do a budget adjustment if we were to do something like that. But that's certainly something we can explore and then bring back at the next meeting.
I think the other observation I had this weekend is that that would help with is the last hour of that open swim, the pool was like when we all got back in after doing presents and cake, it was like, 20 people. And if you split it up and just did a shorter party, you could do a second open swim for the next group of people that come through. Because I had people I know that I work with show up in the last hour of the pool being open, but it's hard to gauge that and plan lifeguarding. And if you're already at max capacity right when it opens at 3, but by 5, you're empty again and could have served another huge group of people, we're not maximizing filling the pool in that last bit of open time. So if you divide up the hours, I think you're going to get 2 waves of like more people. It felt that way when I was there.
Yeah, we could take a look at it. Do the other board members want us to evaluate that?
Absolutely. Okay. 11:30 looks like it's a slack time in the morning, isn't it?
Yeah.
It slows down pretty significantly right around 11:30, yes.
Well, I think if you're getting young families, like, I don't know, a lot of people go home and do like a snack and nap time or something for the toddler time or whatever it's called now.
Well, and we don't have fitness classes after 10:30 is our last fitness class in the morning. So you just see less activity happening between 11. And we do have some patrons that choose to come at that time because they like less activity. So those are the kind of the few that you see that are coming between 11:30 and 12:30.
The numbers that we have in the pool, though, that's not that high in numbers. They can handle the activity.
Well, and I think if you shift some of that time to the weekend and split it, I think you're going to get double the amount of party. I mean, there were 3 parties there on Saturday at one time.
Yeah. Evenings, weekends, earlier in the morning are the 3 things I keep
top
hearing
3,
over
yeah.
and over and over again. Yeah. It's hard to please them all.
I know.
But we're open, which is good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
Let's just keep her open.
that's right.
Been invited to like 3 pool parties, including my own child.
So our goal as a team was to have a sense of where we were going because January 26th is our next board meeting. And that only gives us a few weeks to promote the new spring schedule because our current schedule ends February 21st. So if the board is comfortable, we can go back and look at that and try and split open swims into 2. Maybe reduce the hours from noon down to 11:30 to make up that time. And then
You mean 11?
or 11, yeah.
7 to 11?
Yeah. And then, yeah, I mean, one thing as I'm sitting here thinking about it, one of the challenges with doing that is we do get time back on Thursday because we would be closing and then not open the rest of the day. For your full-time and part-time regular staff, they've been taking 2 to 3 hour lunches on the long days on Wednesday and Friday. Now that's 4 hours. They may be more inclined to take I'm just trying to think through staffing, because I know I don't take lunches, and so that extends the day a little bit, but maybe that means I get more work done because I'm not on deck. So I'm thinking through all these things right now as we're talking about it.
Well, if we had to, we could call a special meeting if you wanted to get this schedule set. Go back to the drawing board, look it over a little bit, and I'd be willing to
Okay.
do a quick special meeting just focused on that and that alone.
I also think if we could even have flyers with the schedule to give out at like, I know the school can put them on the elementary schools can put them on the tables, even though you can't give them to all the kids. We could do that. We could hand them out at home basketball games. Like,
We-
I'm willing to go to a basketball game and stand at the front when people check in and just give people the new schedule.
Yeah, we have flyers, so we could definitely, it's just a matter of making more copies of them.
Yeah.
I will be reaching out to the board to schedule a special executive session in the coming probably 3 weeks. So we could make that a special and include this as part of that agenda before we go into the executive session meeting. So if that is okay with all of you, then maybe we'll plan on doing that.
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
Okay. Number 4, review draft social media policy.
At the last board meeting, there was a request and a consensus of a majority of the board to have staff draft social media policy. The draft is in your packet. Natalia took the lead at doing a bunch of research and looking at what other districts and cities and public entities do. And you have before you the draft that she created, and then we also put it through our attorney to make sure that it made sense. There's a lot of new case law around social media and public entities. And so this is consistent with the current landscape legally with using social media. So the purpose is to provide direction for the district to remain consistent with our vision, mission, and goals on social media platforms. Then we define some of these things, social media. I think a lot of us older folks think of Facebook. A lot of middle of the range folks think of Instagram. And then there's a bunch of new ones that I don't know how to use that the youngers use as for their social media.
Threads. That's the new one. Threads.
Okay. Never heard of it. My kids are too young yet. The general scope of the policy is that it applies to all district social media accounts. We are active on both Facebook and Instagram. Let's see, social media posts made by the district may be public records subject to applicable public records retention and release. So we do have to maintain a record of everything we do in social media. That means taking screenshots, which is really the only way for us to maintain those records. We don't monitor them 24/7. Natalia is our marketing and patron services lead, and she has been on deck a lot lately as well. And so it's not the best way to communicate with the district because, we're just not looking at it 24/7. And then we're also, one of the things that we found during the research is a lot of public entities put an automatic message back to someone who messages the district that says, we don't use these channels to communicate, please email us at our district email, because that is monitored more frequently. And so that's something that is proposed in this policy as well. Section 4 talks about how social media accounts were created and maintained to provide information to the public, not to create a forum for the public. And as such, the district will turn off comments on all district social media accounts. It doesn't preclude someone from sharing the content and then making comments on it. But what it does is it creates a purely information only situation on social media. The next section talks about how this is not the only or primary means of communication. They're intended to be used for information purposes only. And really our district website remains our primary way of communicating information through the internet. And then wherever possible, anything that gets posted to the social media accounts ties back to our website. And that's because that's our main location for information for folks. Section 6 talks about district engagement on social media. We already have a section in our employee handbook that talks about staff engagement, and it's referenced here in this policy. And then there's a section on expectations for elected officials' engagement with social media. And part of the reason that this is being recommended is that there's been some lawsuits that have impacted elected officials because of using their personal accounts to communicate information about the district. It creates, and I see there's 2 periods there, so I'm going to fix that. It creates a public record, essentially, if you're using your personal account to communicate information about the district. So the recommendation, the best practice is that if an elected official wants to communicate information about the organization that they are elected to, they should create a board member Irvi Dominguez or board member Jean McCloskey webpage that's separate from their personal page. And then that becomes part of a public record. Elected officials should maintain positive and appropriate speech regarding the district, because comments made can be perceived as an opinion or position of the district as a whole and not just of that one individual person as an individual community member. If any official conducts district business on a social media account, they should assume that it's a public record and that they need to submit it to the district for maintenance, consistent with the records requirements in the state of Oregon. Confidential or privileged information that's not subject to release cannot be posted or revealed on social media. Elected officials should always clarify that they're posting on their own behalf and not on behalf of the board or district. Even if you're on your own page posting about district information, which above it said you shouldn't do, you want to make sure that you're indicating that it's your own and does not represent the positions, strategies, or opinions of the district. And then it's really important to not violate public meeting laws. If 3 of you like a post or 3 of you comment, yeah, we agree, then that's considered a meeting. So we just have to be aware of that on social media. So the executive director, their designee, is responsible for administering the policy as it relates to official district operations and employee handbook provisions. And then board members are individually responsible for following the provisions of the policy, and the board chair or their designee can hold their fellow officials accountable. And that is the proposed policy.
And what's the consequences?
What are you going to do to hold me accountable?
Yeah. What's the consequence?
I don't know.
I think that's a discussion the board could have. I mean, the board doesn't have any authority to remove anyone
Right.
or do any of those sorts of things. I mean, it could just
Yeah, that's what I meant.
be a conversation in the public.
Yeah, what's their consequence?
Yeah.
No key to it.
So you guys could have a jar, throw $20 in the jar. I don't know.
Oh, used to be a quarter.
Yeah. It's one. We do have one of those. Call it the negative jar. When you're negative, you got to put money in it.
My child would be
Yeah.
that.
Happy to answer any questions you have. This is on your business agenda for consideration of approval. You can postpone it to a future meeting if there's changes you want to see. Or you could say, we don't want this policy, we're not going to approve it. It's up to you guys what you want to do.
I think it's a good policy.
I did too. I read through it earlier. I found one little typo, already turned that over. It was removing the S on enables. So I think it looks good.
Yeah. I like the policy. So,
Okay.
yeah. So do we make a motion for that? No,
In the
Later.
Meeting.
in the later meeting. Okay.
We're still in the work session.
Oh, okay. All right. I want to get going.
Cruising right along here.
Going. Okay, so we reviewed that. Okay, so now we're going to move on and we're going to do the Board of Directors business meeting at 6:34 p.m. So number 1, we're going to convene the business meeting. Roll call. Board Chair Irvi Dominguez, present. Board Vice Chair Jean McCloskey.
Present.
Board Secretary Treasurer Janelle Lewis.
Present.
Board member Rebecca Blejo is absent. Board member Frank Maynard, absent. Okay,
Please stand for pledge of allegiance.
stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Land acknowledgement. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life. And some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. In Central Oregon, we are standing on the ancestral lands of the Wasco, Warm Springs, and Paiute people. We pay respects to their elders, past and present. Okay, so moving on to the adoption of the agenda, I believe we're going to have to move some stuff around, one thing around.
For the
right.
audit report? Is that what?
I'll make the motion that we're gonna move item 6 and 7 down to following the approval of the policy of social media. So that's labeled as 11. It should be 14. So actually 6 and 7 is going to drop in below 14. So that'll be 6 and 7 will become 15, 16.
Yep.
And the reason we're doing that is that we have a limited board tonight and one member has to be out of here by 8 o'clock. So.
So we need a second.
Yes,
motion.
please. Mhm.
I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. So the motion passes. Okay. So, and that was number 7, right? 6 and 7, we're moving.
6 and 7.
Okay, so we're going to number 5, the audit report. Okay,
And Suze, I don't see that Brenda is on yet, so I'm gonna recommend that you.
That's what I was worried.
No.
It's like we're ahead of schedule because we
Yeah.
thought we were going to start this at 7.
You
That-
could
That's okay. Let's move forward. We'll come back to it.
skip over to number
8.
8.
It's now number 6.
okay, so number 8, we're moving on. Review official complaint per policy 2022-04. Public complaints policy submitted verbally at 11/17/25 board meeting.
Okay, board members, so in your packet, you have the public complaints policy. And I highlighted the section. Get to it. Yeah, I thought it was highlighted. So it was highlighted, but it's not anymore. So it's section 4, procedures, complaints regarding district operations or services. And so the policy states that the executive director will endeavor to resolve the complaint within 10 business days. They will generally follow the following process, and it lays out a timeline and process. And then if the complainant is dissatisfied with the resolution, they may appeal to the board chair of the board of directors in writing via email or delivered letter. And then the board chair will place it on the next board meeting agenda for discussion. A final written decision regarding the complaint shall be made by the board within 30 business days from receipt of the written appeal. The written decision of the board will be final and will address the complaint and the reasons for their decision. If the board chooses not to hear the complaint, the executive director's decision is final. The board may hold the hearing in executive session if the subject matter qualifies under Oregon law. So what is included in your packet, scrolling through, is the transcript from the board meeting on November 17th, when the complaint was submitted. And so that's in your packet. The second piece in your packet is I take notes and document when I have conversations with patrons, whether it's a complaint or a thank you. I always note the time and date and all the things. So this is my excerpt from that document where I keep track of things. And I hope, you may or may not have had a chance to take a look at that. And then was not in the order it should have been, but the third thing associated with this item is the patron rules and regulations at MACRD facilities policy. And this section was highlighted and it's not anymore. And this is the policy on photography and videography at the district. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, or the board can discuss how you want to move forward.
So this is mostly dealing with our promo videos, correct? So our
This is
own videos or other people coming in for the videography.
I would say more directly. It's the complaint was filed as a in relation to a volunteer drone operator
Right.
taking footage.
Yeah.
I do have a volunteer form and release agreement on file for the volunteer that operates the equipment, along with a license that has been issued by I always say FFA and it's FAA for operating that. And on that volunteer agreement, I did give written approval for taking that footage at the MAC. And so we have followed the policy as written. I think the question for the board is, well, you have multiple options. You can direct the chair to conduct an investigation, and speak with the complainant, speak with the folks involved, and then bring something back to the board. You can affirm the executive director's resolution to the complaint. And then you could choose to do an investigation and affirm the executive director's resolution. Plus, you can make some sort of direction to staff about allowing volunteer drone footage to be taken. So you have multiple options that you can pursue in response to this official complaint. No.
No, not at this
No.
time. This is our meeting. Thank you. So as I remember, the authorization was not in place at the time that this incident happened, though, correct?
Oh, no, it was in place.
Oh, it wasn't.
October 18th is when that volunteer agreement was signed.
And this was a patron that was in an instructor-led
Class.
Fitness class,
Yeah.
correct.
Yes.
So I think the complaint came from is they had to keep raising their hand, correct, if they didn't want to be in the video.
Yeah, the initial
So they would have
direction
to-
was raise your hand and we'll cut you out.
Yeah,
And I think it was a learning opportunity to say, no, we're not going to take any footage if anybody says no. And so that's the protocol.
But this is the last communication was on that day, was on the 12th.
Yeah, that was the last communication that I had. Aside from the complaint being presented to the board on the 17th.
Well, I agree completely with you. The follow-up. As
Yeah.
it states, as a follow-up, I spoke with the staff aquatics fitness instructor and volunteer drone operator and determined that in the future, if any patrons indicated verbally that they did not want to be recorded, that the response should be to immediately abandon plans to film during that period of time without any judgment or negative commentary. It is the right of the patrons to say no to being filmed and photographed. I agree with that completely. If I'm in that fitness class, I don't want to raise my hand up. Yeah,
Right.
let's film a class that wants to be filmed. Yeah.
I mean, the policy already kind of covers that.
I
Well,
think possibly the complainant just wanted it to be brought to all of our attention. And if a sit down face to face is warranted, I'd be happy to sit in.
Yeah, I just think that our policy on that covers what happened and what was explained to the users. think we
Hindsight's
just
always 2020,
Yeah.
but I think
need-
that's a
we-
good resolution.
Well, and I think when you're trying something new, when you're doing something new, you're gonna learn things that you should have done differently. And I think for me, if I were perfect, maybe it would be an issue, but I'm not perfect. And so I understand that we all continue to learn as we move forward and find things out. So
what happens when, I know if, so the whole class has to agree. What if there's some people in there say, hey, I don't mind filming. And then the other people say, hey, I don't want to be filmed.
then we don't.
You know,
Don't
well,
do it.
or they could set up a 10-minute little film after the class is over. You know, there's lots of workarounds that could be done so that we would still get
Not
that,
interrupt the class.
yes, that social media filming, because I heard some really good compliments about the people that saw the drone footage, you know, that thought it was a positive look at those people swimming and having fun and getting the word out there. This was a very unfortunate incident, and I think maybe staff will know how to handle it in the future.
Well, and I think too, it's important to recognize that the way that we respond in these situations affects how people feel, you know, and being in a fitness class, being in the water in a bathing suit, can be
Yeah.
hard for a lot of folks. And so we want to be as respectful as possible in saying, you know, we're just not going to do it. No questions asked. because we don't want anyone to feel like they're being pressured into doing something or anything like that. So we've had a conversation as a team around how we ask people if it's okay and how we respond if someone says no, in a really positive, supportive way, so that there's never someone feeling like it's a bad thing that they said no, because it's okay for people to say no.
Right. Right. You have that choice.
So you're gonna circle back to Debbie?
So the board has to make a determination, and can decide that a follow-up conversation can happen perhaps with a board member.
Yeah, and I think Jean,
Yeah.
you said that you were gonna talk to Debbie.
Well, could you invite Debbie if she doesn't feel that there's been resolution, invite Debbie to meet with us. I'd be happy to.
Okay. So I'm gonna go back to the policy.
I would just make sure that all, because I know this was just involving the aquatic fitness instructor, but maybe just all the lifeguards or anyone that's out on the deck knows that.
Yeah, that's exactly. So the board has to make, someone has to make a motion, to do one of three things. Direct the chair to conduct an investigation, choose not to hear the complaint and affirm the executive director's resolution, or some mix.
Well, I think we've heard the complaint. So, I mean,
Hearing the complaint means that you're going to conduct an investigation.
okay.
So this is just information about the situation, and then you get to decide if you're going to move forward with hearing the complaint, doing an investigation, or not hearing the complaint and affirming the executive director's decision.
Well, let's say we're hearing the complaint, we're going to do the investigation. I will lead the investigation, and I will ask Debbie to come meet with us and ask her if this provides any kind of resolution to her. I think we all feel the same, that it was an unfortunate incident and that we can handle it better in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to make the motion for Jean to conduct an investigation and invite Debbie back. That's what we're doing, right?
So we're gonna make a motion to hear the complaint, and for further investigation, I move that Jean invites Debbie to meet with her and our executive director to discuss the management of the resolution.
Yeah.
I second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. We'll move on. Okay, we're going to number 9, financial reports.
Do we have?
I was just looking, we don't
Acceptable?
have,
Not yet.
we do not have her yet. But I'm guessing she'll be here any minutes. Just keep an eye on that.
Maybe we can buzz through the.
Financial reports. Okay, board members, so in your packet, you have the November balance sheet. And one of the things that I thought was interesting looking at it is, you know, one of the things that inflates our balance sheet and our equity is that last year we levied almost $740,000 for our debt service fund, and we're not levying that amount this year. We're levying $40,000. And so when you take out that difference, the year over year total equity difference is about $35,000. And that's really kind of what we expected not to have because of not having registrations for sports and enrichment programs. So I would say from a staff perspective, we're right where we would expect to be at this point in the year. When you look at the November month end, just a few things to point out. Property taxes came in a little bit over what we anticipated. They're still not what in my mind we were going to collect. And so I talked with our county treasurer, and he feels that more is going to come in December, and then he'll be able to make an analysis on collections and if collections are higher or lower than in the past. Memberships are up over budget. Facility revenues are down a bit. Part of that is, we're talking about $800. That could just be a timing issue with when swim teams started this month or when payments were made. Aquatics programs is at 90% of budget, which honestly I think is the closest we've ever been to the budgeted number at this point in the year. And so overall, our programs and services revenue is just slightly over where we expected to be in November. When you look at expenses, I just want to point out a few things. We are tracking in-service and lifeguard training now, which we had not done in the past. It used to just fall under lifeguards. So far this year, we've spent $5,000 on in-service and training. We're required to do 4 hours of in-service a month. So that includes all of our certified lifeguards doing scenarios and practicing their whistles and practicing different types of rescues. Plus, we just held a lifeguard class, and it's 30 hours for each staff member who participates in that. So we're a little bit over in program personnel, but what I will show you too is that we're down in facilities and down in administration. And part of that is all of our staff who are hourly are allocated to the appropriate place where they're working. And we've had a lot of days where our front desk person is working on deck instead of working at the front desk. And so their payroll comes under programming instead of admin in those situations. So what I look at is the overall personnel services. We're at about 94% of budget. When you go down to expenses, and if you have questions on particular line items, I'm more than happy to answer. When you look at expenses, we're at about 76% of what we expected. And so it's great. We're at 90% of revenue and 76% at expenses. And then you can see the debt services fund has come in significantly over budget, and it's because the prior year taxes are getting paid, not just this year's. Once we have $40,000 in this account, we'll consider that loan from the general fund paid off from the debt services fund. Lastly, is the Jason, the July, August, September, October, November cash flow analysis. And we end up doing it through the whole year because it helps us kind of keep pace on what our ending fund balance is going to be. And you can see that we're estimating that we're going to be at about $37,000 at the end of the fiscal year. I found it really interesting looking at the actuals for the end of November of the cash that we have, the funds we have available. We're only about $5,000 different from last year. And part of that is because of not being open this summer and having that cash flow unavailable had some savings associated with it. And that is the financial report. And she is still not on.
Well, 36,000 come June isn't much. What do we know about our the work in progress on the heater? That part.
Yes, so they expect that the part will be delivered in the next 10 days.
Wow.
They put in a interim solution that is operating. We have hot water, and the final inspection should be, I assume, in the next 10 days once that's completed.
And the other night when Cora and I were doing the walkthrough with you, what did you mention about what they were going to do about this closure?
Yes. So I had a conversation with the project manager, and originally when they gave us our proposal for the project, there were two options, one for $43,000, $44,000, and then one for $61,000 that had some additional work in it to repipe some areas to create more efficiency. Well, they went ahead and did some of that work, and they're not charging us for it. So we're getting the $44,000 price with some of that extra work. And they thought that the value of it was somewhere between $25,000 and $5,500. $2,500 and $5,500. Thank you. $2,500 and $5,500. We're sorry that this took so long.
Yeah, we're sorry we started the project without having all the parts in place. Yeah.
I just want to call out that or just comment on the electricity, natural gas, like all of those expenses, including sewer, water, are already like 85, 83, 77%.
This is just through November. So we do a monthly budget. So
Oh,
that's the
gotcha.
monthly budget through November.
Okay.
So that means we're
Not for the year.
less than where we expected to be at this point.
Okay.
And DVW is still closely monitoring the water leakage.
Yes, I think we're all monitoring it after that big leak we had. Yes. See if I can find that. And we're hoping to see more savings on utilities with the new boiler and some of that repiping that they did with our natural gas bill.
With that, did we ever get with the city on?
No.
Giving us a
We have not approached the city. No, we need to do that. We need to get on their agenda and say, hey, I mean, if we don't ask, they can't say no. Yeah. Yeah. What's the city administrator's name? Will
Ibershaw.
Will, yeah. At that meeting we had back in June,
Yeah.
he said, well, the city'd like to help, but no, we don't want to take over a pool, but maybe this would be a way the city could help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think he mentioned we need to get on their agenda. Cause he mentioned using some of the is it tourism tax? Right?
TRT fund.
TRT, thank
Yeah.
you. Funds,
Could they funnel any
To
of
help.
those?
put
Yeah.
some of that toward those big bills that we have, like water.
Could you find out for us what the city, yeah.
I can talk with, would you want to just go during a visitors section or would you want a time on the agenda to meet with the council? What's your preference?
I think to meet with the council.
Okay,
I agree with that.
so maybe a
Yeah.
work session type situation.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll
If
touch base.
two people need to be there, then maybe it could be Jean and I, just because since she had this role previously. If you want, or I can just go.
No, yeah.
I think.
Well, we could always notice it as a potential quorum and you could all go. So as an option.
Okay.
Okay. So I guess moving on. Number 10, consider approval of the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So that takes care of A, B, and C, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number 11, consider approval of resolution 2026-XX, designating the budget officer and recognizing the budget committee members for fiscal year 2026-27.
And I apologize, Mr. Chair. It should say 2026-05 on our annotated agendas. I did not update that. I apologize. So board members, I did reach out to the 3 budget committee members whose terms expire at the end of 2025. And all 3 indicated they would love to continue serving. Their emails are in your board packet. So the resolution before you is a typical resolution that we do every year to designate the budget officer and recognize the budget committee. And this will be for the fiscal year 2026-27.
I just want to clarify, you contacted them back at the end of November, right? And so they all
Yes,
committed
Yeah, it was.
prior to last week,
yes,
and no one reached out again or changed their mind.
nope.
I'll make a motion that we approve 2026-05 designating the budget officer and recognizing the budget committee members for the 2026-27 year.
I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, number 12, consider approval of the draft fiscal year 2026-27 budget calendar.
So board members, another required piece of the process is developing a calendar for the budget, not only development process, but also the budget meetings that will happen in the spring of 2026. So I made some changes to it, so hopefully it's easier to read. It was getting really tiny the other way that we had it formatted. But you can see ultimately that the budget process starts now. The board will begin having conversations in January, giving some big picture 50,000-foot direction to staff around how you want the budget developed. And then all the places where you see kind of brown tan language, those are all of the staff required timelines that we try to meet internally. And then you'll see that we've got 3 budget committee meeting dates identified so that we have time to kind of work through it. So when you look at starting May 4th, 2026 would be that budget committee orientation. That's where we can go over the current fiscal year and what's happened to date. Then we move down to May 18th, which would be the first budget committee hearing with a regular board business meeting to follow. And then a placeholder on June 1st for a second budget committee meeting if needed, and a third budget committee meeting if needed on June 15th. And we do that because we can notice it once with all 3 of those meetings rather than having to put a budget notice in 3 times. It costs, I don't know, a couple $100 to do those notices. So it saves us if we can do it all at once. So once the budget committee approves the budget, then the board will have their regular work session and business meeting on Monday, June 22nd, to hold a public hearing and adopt the budget. So that's the timeline and process essentially for budget development in this proposed calendar.
Okay.
Any discussion? I'll make a motion. Yeah. I'll make the motion to approve the draft 2026-27 budget calendar.
I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Brenda is still not on.
Okay. So number 13, we're moving on to number 13. Consider approval of changes to the MACRD scholarship eligibility criteria.
So I'll go with this one because remember that was the one that we talked about earlier. And I said, well, I just want
Yeah.
confirmation from the MAC Trust. And so Jared
That works.
provided that. Yeah. And I think that's
Yeah.
very generous of them to reach
Yeah.
out to the entire county now with their scholarships. So that's a slam dunk.
Okay. Yeah, so it's the whole county, everybody, not just 509J like it was before, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Countywide. Courtney, do you have anything to add on that?
No.
I'll make a motion that we approve the changes to the MACRD scholarship eligibility criteria.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, MAC Trust.
Yes. That is very nice. I like that. Yeah, it's
We
good.
have some Culver families that are excited and waiting. So
Good. Okay. Consider, which would be number 14, right?
No.
Yeah, number 14, consider approval of policy 2026-02 social media policy. So aren't we gonna continue? Are we gonna?
That's the brand new one we just reviewed at the work session.
Right. So are we still gonna discuss that? Doesn't
I'm good
have
with
anything-
it. Did you have any changes you wanted to make to it?
I didn't think so. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was the social media one. Okay.
Yeah.
So I make the motion that we adopt the social media policy 2026-02.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Thank you, Natalia, for putting that
Yeah.
together for us.
As long as I can still be.
Need that clause at the end.
Okay.
Since the boss is fashionably late.
I'm surprised that she's not here.
I know. Do you
Uh,
think she remembered?
I'm sorry.
Oh, did she confirm?
But you can always postpone it to the next meeting and I mean, you've seen it, you know, it's been submitted. And we can invite her to come to the next work session or the next meeting if you'd like.
You want to jump in and give your executive director report?
Sure. Most of my time the last few weeks, was spent at the front desk guarding and then putting together all the data in this board packet. So I don't have a written report for you. I did want to share with you that we had a walkthrough with the Special Districts Association of Oregon Risk Management section, and in connection with SAFE, which is our workers' comp coverage provider. And so that letter's in your packet. You know, we walked through, I think I probably spent about an hour and a half with her. She said the facility looked great. She really liked our new signage, and really liked that we had it available in English and Spanish. We talked about the pit, which is the area of the pump room where you climb down a ladder and there's no other exits to it. And we've identified it as a confined space. She wasn't sure whether it should be a permitted space or not. And so we're working through with some of her experts on whether or not that needs to be a permitted space versus just a confined space. And the difference is we have to have staff do some additional things for safety if it's a permitted space. Whereas if it's a confined space, we still do some safety things, but it's not as extensive as filling out a 3-page report every time you go down into it and some other things. So
Who makes that determination? They make that determination as to what kind of a space it is.
well, I mean, OSHA ultimately would probably make that determination. They're helping us try and figure out how to be as much as in compliance as we can. We updated all of our written plans this summer. And so she was pleased to see that we've got our SDS, our safety data sheets, in multiple locations in the building. The emergency action plan is in multiple locations. Our bloodborne pathogens program is in place. Training is conducted annually on that. And then we do offer the hepatitis B vaccination to all staff who may come in contact with bodily fluids. And then we have our checklist for new employee orientation that incorporates all these things. All of these things existed in some form, draft or another, but they were all finalized this summer and we trained on them. So I think that it's important. And she says it in her letter that we made good use of the time to try and come up to compliance. When you think about all of these different plans, I'm responsible for training all of our staff on it and holding everybody accountable to it. And so Amanda is helping me with that. She's taken on a number of duties that are safety related, including working with me on the safety committee and all the things that are required. And it's a lot for a small staff. So we were really pleased that she was pleased with our progress and how much we were able to get done. We have a respirator program for our certified pool operators. It's in draft form. That's one of the policies we didn't get finalized this summer, but all the elements are in place. And
sorry, is
Okay.
that for the confined space, the respirator?
No. So the respirator is for when we're using chemicals.
Do we have to use any kind of extra respirators for the confined space?
No.
Nothing.
No, there's no exposure or anything.
Nothing like that. It's just a confined space.
So prior people that have come in our facility haven't identified that same issue that she did. I mean, because the pit hasn't changed.
Well, yeah, so it's been a discussion point when I go back and look at safety meetings. It's been on there as something to figure out for years. So we're gonna get it figured out because that's what we do.
When I read that letter, I wondered, what's the pit? Where's the pit? I was thinking food area.
Yeah, it's that when you walk into the pump room, it's
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
space down below. And all of our going back to the respiratory protection, all of our certified pool operators have gone through the the medical test, fit test, all the things for our respirators. Those of us that are not leads only have a partial mask. We have 2 staff that have full masks, and that's if they need to do acid or other types of treatments. Those of us that just have the partials, we're only touching chlorine potentially. We're not doing any of those other
Harsh still.
But the program that we do have, I sent it to them and it's in your board packet. This is the respirator protection program we have. It doesn't meet all of the requirements. So Nikki was kind enough. She is sharing some information with us and some tools, and it's on my to-do list. And Amanda has offered graciously to help me going through that and updating our existing program so that it meets all the requirements. I also wanted to let the board know that someone came into the pool on Friday and donated $1,000. So there's a thank you note that we've written and it's going around for all of you to sign. There's been a lot of outreach from folks who are really supportive of the work of the district and of keeping kids safe in the water, you know, all the things that we do, keeping seniors in the water so they can keep moving. So it's been really wonderful to have those folks reach out and appreciate it. And that's my report. Oh, the other thing I wanted to share, and I did earlier, is that I'm fully lifeguard certified now. If anyone's interested, this is the book. Just flip through it. There's a lot that we expect of our young seasonal staff as lifeguards. And this crew that I got to go through the class with, they're amazing. They're a great group of kids. And I have to tell you, I just have so much excitement for the future when they're all adults because they're just amazing young people. So if you're interested in seeing what lifeguards get to do,
I might still have my book at home.
I'd love to compare.
I know it'd be really interesting.
I'll piggyback on that. Here's my board member highlight is I went in and watched when they were doing some of their
Rescues.
Well, no, I wanted to go to the pool one, but I had a doctor's appointment. No, it was when they were doing CPR on an infant and a person, the 2 dummies. And
we do it quarterly at the hospital.
Watch those teenagers be so serious, and they took it serious, and and worked together as a little team.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other board member highlights? Got anything? No.
She's still not on there, Courtney?
No, I'm wondering if something happened and she's just was unavailable. So I'll reschedule with her.
Okay.
Maybe I'll try to get it on our special meeting. And if not, in January.
That would work.
Okay.
I played water basketball on Saturday. And I also operated the rope swing for at least a half hour. Yeah. As a parent in the water supervising children.
There you go.
And I did not freeze. The water didn't kill me. And I took a hot shower afterward.
There we go.
All of the things happened.
Important stuff. Okay, so let's go back to correspondence, patron comments, cards, emails, other communications regarding MACRD operations.
Yeah, working.
Here's some Christmas cards.
Do you want me to go grab them?
So there's a couple Christmas cards going around that we've received. In your packet, there is a letter from the Government Ethics Commission confirming the commission considered the preliminary review report regarding a complaint filed against Gene McCloskey, and the commission voted to dismiss the case. So the dismissal is included. The preliminary report was included in the board packet in November's meeting. Then we have an email that was submitted by Timothy Forrester. This email came back at the subject newsletter and just wrote great facility. We have an email from Cesar, who is a regular lap swimmer in the evenings, requesting that the board consider opening earlier or staying open later. He would love for us to be open earlier, I think is his main point, and has talked with us multiple times about how helpful it would be for folks that work that 8 to 5 schedule, as Jean mentioned earlier. And then lastly, there's a letter that we received from Timothy Forrester that was submitted to the paper. And so that is included in your board packet as well. And that's all the correspondence.
Okay, Yeah. Okay. So we'll go on to visitors section, our public comment. Let's start with Sheila. Come on up, Sheila. Oh, you want to hand me those, if you don't mind? Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Is the mic on, Sheila? Sorry, I just want to make sure people online can hear you. There we go. Thanks.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little, I think it feels quiet compared to our
Can
mics.
you hear me now?
Yeah, I would just keep it
I
close.
didn't talk loud.
Thank you.
So I kind of get the feeling, that you don't really take the public's feedback or questions. And after the last couple of meetings, I had some friends that had just got the pool pass trying to get back into that. And then it was shut down again. So they never saw like a thing saying when it was going to be open. So the only thing that I had seen was on the Rants and Raves page. And so I just wanted to say it would be really nice. I know you said that, I think it was Natalia does the site, but it would be really nice if they updated and said, hey, this is what's going on. If you could, you're open at this or you're going to have this. Cause I see the specials for like the different classes and all that, but I didn't actually see the different hours or different times that or when they close and or when they're doing the special swims that she's talking about. I know I wrote it down tonight, but beforehand, I didn't know when they were doing those special swims. And that's pretty much what I was just curious if there was any possibility you might be able to post that just so we could be more aware, so we could try to get up there if we wanted to do a walk-in thing on specific, because I can't remember, I think you said 2 days. I can't remember the days, but there was a couple extra days. If somebody could try to make it, that would be nice. And that's all I had to say.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very
I just
much.
have a comment that like those blasts on social media might be worthwhile, especially if we switch the hours in February. It might be worth investing in paying for the social media blasts so they will pop up for people. Because if we don't pay for those, then they don't pop up as much. So then people don't know.
But it is posted up on the website.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this a lot as a team because we get that feedback that people didn't know that there was an open swim on a no school day, or so we're trying to think about different and unique ways we could get the message out. So
I think I
We're working on it.
I know I get really frustrated with the school district not allowing the kids to take flyers home, but
Agreed.
that's one way that I really get a lot of information for my kids. So I think at least putting them in the office where parents drop off sometimes is helpful. And then at some of the sporting events where there's older siblings or something.
All right. Moving on, Mr. Timothy Forrester.
Oh, my timer, I'm slacking. Sheila, you went really fast, but I forgot to time you. Timers.
Always appreciate this Aquatic Center. And as you can see, I'm not very mobile, but
State your name for the record.
State Tim, can you say your name, full name for the record for us, please? Thank you.
Okay. Is this on? Forrester, I live in this. Anyway, I want a fantastic facility. I'm disappointed that they didn't install solar panels when they built it originally, and didn't build inside the changing rooms brick instead of drywall, which is really was a poor decision. Anyway, great stuff. This one is about the community and the grud. Grud. It floats around in the form of gossip, all other forms. And so I wrote an article for the paper about the grudge and grudges, so I have a lot of experience. And I have very little experience about swimming pools. I know nothing really about them except I enjoy them. But I'm going to place this sign outside my yard. And if anyone wants to join fighting the grudge, read my article in the paper, and how grudges develop and where they move on to eventually. Unfortunately, I'm not going to grudge things in politics all over from the top and from the bottom in society. And I think it's time to reassess the grudge and let it end and stop whining about all the things that people do that's nice to other people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good, thank you.
Yep.
Kathy Carey?
Good evening. My name is Kathy Carey. I'm a Madras resident. I first want to wish you all Merry Christmas and apologize. I have been somewhat incapacitated the last 3 months, and so I am somewhat out of the loop. It has come to my attention that a new lawsuit has been filed against the MACRD, case number 25CV64941. And I am going by hearsay, and I understand that Coraline Holloman has been voted in by the board as a replacement board member. Since Carolyn is one of the plaintiffs of this upcoming lawsuit, I would respectfully request that she be excused from board member participation, either removed from the board or asked to not participate in the board body as a board member until the lawsuit has been resolved. I would also like to thank Mr. Forrester for his kind words and his compassion for not only MACRD, but for the community at large, because I totally agree that we have a lot of negativity in the community, and I would love for one to just go back to the golden rule. So thank you for your time, and I hope you all have a wonderful Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you,
Have
Kathy.
a Merry Christmas also. Thank you. David. Please come on up.
Here's David McGlenry. I'm a resident of Madras. Thank you for your time. I'll very briefly make your investigation on the drone incident, non-incident, very, very quick. The day in question when I came in and had coordinated with Courtney to come in and make a video of the exercise class. As I was setting up, I suggested off the cuff, incidentally, if there's anybody that doesn't want to be seen in the video, if you just raise your hand, I'll know to edit you out and make sure that you're not in it. And there was one person who said, well, I don't want to be filmed at all, to which I said, that's perfectly fine. Then I won't even take it out of the box. She started to get upset. I had to say about 5 times, I'm not going to even take the drone out of the box if it's going to make even one person uncomfortable here. I'll just wait till the next class. And that's why they say Courtney didn't deal. All I did was mention to Courtney, there was one person who was uncomfortable with that, didn't want, so I'm just going to wait till the next class. Oh, okay, she's doing her thing during the course of the day. That was it. That was the non-event. The person, she said, I said, I'm not going to take it out. She said, well, then I'll stay and I'll stay for the class. I said, good, I'm glad you will. I don't want to interrupt anybody's good time here. it was just a suggestion on the hand thing, but if you're not comfortable with it being in the air, it won't be in the air. And if there's even one person in the facility that feels that way, it won't be in the air, or it'll be another class. That's what happened. Period. Okay. Now to follow up on what Kathy said, and I'll just read very quickly. I wanted to expand a little bit, but we've prepared a formal request for the removal of board member Orlin Hollyman due to conflict of interest under Oregon.
Well,
You speak in
a
the.
little closer, David.
Formal request for removal of board member Corlin Holliman due to conflict of interest under Oregon law. I'm writing formally request the removal of Corlin Holliman from the Madras Aquatic Center Recreation Board of Directors on the grounds that her ongoing lawsuit against the board creates an actual conflict of interest under Oregon government ethics law, relevant county city governance standards, and the fiduciary duties required of a public board member in Jefferson County. The basis for the conflict of interest under Oregon law, the actual conflict of interest under ORS 244.020. Oregon law defines an actual conflict of interest as occurring when a public official's decision-making would result in a financial benefit or detriment to themselves. A lawsuit filed by a sitting board member against the very body on which they serve squarely meets this definition, because the outcome of the legal action could directly impact the board member financially and organizationally. Her continued participation on the board constitutes an ongoing actual conflict. Obligations to disclose and recuse under ORS 244.120. A public official with an actual conflict of interest must publicly disclose the conflict on the record and refrain from participating in discussion, deliberation, or voting on related matters. Given the breadth of issues implicated by the pending lawsuit, this conflict extends matters routinely before the board, severely undermining the board's ability to function effectively and independently. This board cannot even deliberate.
That's time.
Thank you, David.
Confidentiality.
Yeah, thank you.
Without learning, she can take it for a lawyer.
Thank you, David. So,
Do you want me to?
what,
No comment about that. Okay. All right.
can I make?
No,
This is their turn to make comments, not ours. Not a Q&A.
No, I wasn't gonna make a comment there. It's gonna be with us, but Cora. No, those are all. Oh, yeah, I guess. Okay, yeah. Yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about.
Cora Hollyman for the record. I want to address concerns that have been raised regarding my participation in the 10 taxpayer budget complaint and my appointment to this board. For timeline purposes, please know that I signed the 10 taxpayer complaint before I was appointed and before being sworn in. At that time, I was acting solely as a taxpayer, which is exactly what Oregon law contemplates and allows. Throughout this summer, including during my interview process, I have been transparent about my concerns regarding the budget process, governance, and fiscal responsibility. These concerns were not new, concealed, or inconsistent with my application to serve or my interview to this board. After being appointed, I chose not to hide my involvement. I did not remove my name from the filing because integrity requires honesty about actions taken in good faith and at the recommendation of the Department of Revenue themselves. Removing my name from the filing due to my appointment would have conflicted with the very values of transparency and accountability that I have consistently asked of all of you. The 10 taxpayer complaint is not personal, punitive, or adversarial. It is a statutory mechanism for judicial review of process. A conflict of interest under Oregon law requires a personal, financial, or private benefit. This action was taken before my appointment as a taxpayer, and I have nothing personal to gain, financially or otherwise, from the filing. My interest is the same as every person in this room, that this district operate lawfully, responsibly, and in a way that preserves public trust. When I am sworn in, I am fully prepared to follow Oregon ethics guidance and recuse myself where appropriate. That would be the case whether I took my name off of that taxpayer complaint or not. I would still have to do that. My intent as a board member would be forward-looking, focused on solutions, responsible governance, and restoring confidence with the taxpayers, a message that has remained consistent and has never wavered. I also wanted to speak to you today about the social media policy. For a district that's struggling financially, social media is a powerful tool that is completely free, and when used correctly would get more eyes on your schedule and more patrons through your door. You hear that time and time again in your meetings. Shutting off the comments not only sends a negative message to the public, but it would also be closing the door to opportunities for engagement, and paying for ads for your algorithm. Paying for ads and then not having an algorithm because you don't have engagement through comments is a waste of money. There's so many tools and keyword alerts and comment management that would not infringe on protected speech, and a little bit of positivity and training with staff and your designated volunteers that are using your page to speak on behalf of the district could go a long way. I would encourage the board to pause and learn more before making a drastic decision in the face of temporary negativity, and possibly revisit that policy after your SDAO conference in February. There's a lot of information out there, and it wasn't reflected in that policy.
Thank you, Cora. Okay, yeah, anybody online?
I did not receive any requests for anyone online to speak.
Okay. So I think let's go to reminders and upcoming meetings and events. Our next meeting is going to be Monday, January 26th, 2025, 5:30 p.m. Mac board session, Mac board work session and business meeting. And Friday through Sunday, February 6th through the 8th, 2026 in Seaside SDAO annual conference.
Do we have follow-up items from tonight that we should add to the agenda for next time? From any of the comments or anything?
Not that I can think of.
I like to plan ahead.
I have a Zoom, a comment from a Zoom member that they sent an email, so I'm just logging into my email and going back and making sure I didn't think I had received anything.
Do we have to put on the agenda? Roll the other one over, or it doesn't matter?
Oh, yeah, just the Sensiba. I think
Yeah.
obviously our audit report will move over on to the next one.
Okay.
And then we're gonna have a special meeting for the pool schedule
And an executive session.
and an executive session there.
Maybe we'll be able to pull all those together on a special meeting to get that pool schedule out sooner rather than later.
And then I guess the other follow-up will be if you meet with Debbie Stinson. We just want to follow up to close on that.
Do you have contact information for Debbie?
Yes.
Okay, well, if you.
I'll coordinate.
Yeah, send me a text message. I could run up there if she comes up to swim and wants to meet after she's done or something.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I do not.
Do you want me to check my email, Courtney? I don't see anything.
Yeah, I'm just not.
Sorry,
I'm not seeing.
I just, on the budget schedule, I just didn't know the closure on the day of graduation is on there again, and we've never discussed that one as this current board.
Just graduation map closed.
Oh, I do. Oh, so it's in my junk email. So I do have an email. Thank you, Susan, for telling me to check that. So if that's my bad. If we could go back to the visitors section and allow Susan to speak. They did send an email
Okay.
ahead of time and request time.
Susan.
Kavari.
Susan Kovari.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'll reset the timer.
Okay.
And I'm gonna ask her to unmute.
Just.
Okay, Susan, I think you're unmuted.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
You guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Atil Kavari, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of 10 Jefferson County taxpayers. Last Tuesday, December 9th, 10 verified taxpayers formally filed a 10 taxpayer complaint in Jefferson County Circuit Court under ORS 294.100. This statute allows taxpayers to seek judicial review when a public body makes unlawful expenditures of public funds. This filing follows a written determination by the Oregon Department of Revenue concluding that the Madras Aquatic Center Recreation District's fiscal year 2025-26 budget was not lawfully adopted under Oregon local budget law. Many community members may be surprised to learn this because the Department of Revenue's determination was not shared publicly when it was issued. As a result, taxpayers were left without a clear understanding of their opinions or options for relief. The Department of Revenue has explained that its authority is limited. DOR can determine whether a budget was adopted lawfully, but it is prohibited by statute from interfering in a district's fiscal policy and how public funds are spent. When unlawful expenditures occur, the responsibility for review shifts to the courts, and the law expressly authorizes taxpayers to seek that revenue or that review. That is what this action does. This complaint does not seek damages, personal compensation, or a settlement. It seeks statutory relief intended to bring the district back into compliance with state budget law and to address expenditures made under an unlawfully adopted budget. It is also important to clarify that this action is not brought for the purpose of imposing personal financial liability on individual board members. However, Oregon law does require that when unlawful expenditures are reviewed, the court may examine whether board members fulfilled their legal responsibilities in approving and overseeing public spending. That review is a core accountability function built into the statute. As general background, the MACRD carries liability insurance through the SDAO and Special Districts Insurance Services, which provides defense and indemnification for board members acting within the scope of their official duties. Finally, it is important for the public to understand that the financial issues and reduced revenues experienced during the 2025 summer season occurred before the lawsuit was filed. This statutory action did not cause those losses. Its purpose is to protect the long-term financial integrity of the district by addressing issues already identified through the state's oversight process. The complaint was filed on December 9th and will proceed accordingly to the judicial review procedures set forth by ORS 294.100. Thank you for allowing this explanation to be entered into the public record.
Thank you, Attila.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Okay,
that's it.
no more online.
Okay, let's adjourn the meeting at 7:42 p.m. Thank you. Have a good Christmas.